So out here in Massachusetts, you tend to see a lot of older style homes, Cape Cod style homes, colonial style homes, and it's not uncommon to even see homes from the 1800s and earlier than that. And a lot of these homes are still standing. They're perfectly fine. They're perfectly livable homes. They do need updating as the years go on. But generally, they are built to last, and built to last for the climate here in Massachusetts, where obviously we get 4 seasons, we get harsh winters, and we do get once in a while some extreme weather conditions. But with these houses, you typically always see basements. And this particular home here, you also see a septic system that is being installed. And like I said, these houses are built for the harsh winter conditions. So you tend to see a lot of insulation down in the basement, insulation in the roof, attic areas, asphalt shingle roof, and vinyl siding like this house here behind me. Well, obviously, because we have harsh winters out here, the roofs are built to withstand a snow load, and the basement are also built to withstand the cold weather and extreme temperatures. As you can see here in this basement, we have insulation all up along the roof. We've also insulated up where the foundation meets the rest of the house, and that's typically the way it is out here. And also, it's not uncommon here in Massachusetts to have older heating systems in these homes, like oil heating systems, older furnaces, things like that, and even fieldstone foundation, which this one right here is just a cinder block foundation, but many homes out here have a fieldstone foundation, which is basically just big rocks stacked on top of each other and mortared together that hold the house up. And they do work, they do hold the house up great, but it's just not something that you typically see in other parts of the country.
So we're here in Louisiana, and some major differences between the homes here versus the homes up north in New England. First of all, out here, you'll notice these homes around me, they're a different style. They're these Acadian Creole cottage style homes, most of them single level. The reason being is that the climate out here is much warmer, much hotter, more humid than up north. And so as a result, a lot of these houses are built to sustain the heat. That single level makes it so that you're maintaining a cool temperature on one level of the house rather than trying to do it on 2 levels, because heat always rises, and now it's more difficult to cool that second level of the house. Additionally, these homes are often built on raised foundations, platforms, so that means that they don't have basements, unlike in Massachusetts. And again, this is because of flooding, weather conditions, lots of hurricanes out here, and that's the same reason that many of them don't have second floors, because with that in mind, it could compromise the structural integrity of the home in terms of flooding, things like that could affect the foundation. So that's one major thing. The other one is because a lot of these homes don't have a second story, they actually have a very high ceiling on the first level, and this helps with the ventilation of the home, cross ventilation, moving air around, because again, the climate out here is very hot, and so these homes are built more to withstand that. You'll also notice a lot of these homes don't have solar panels. Actually, none of them do, which is very different from Massachusetts. It seems like where I live at, every other house has them. But out here, if you think about it, with the weather conditions, with hurricanes, humidity, it's harder to maintain durability on those solar panels out here than it is in other parts of the country. And so as a result, you don't have as much of them. The other reason is because electricity bills tend to be cheaper out here, much cheaper. This is partly because they use more natural gas out here, and so there's less incentive for people to use solar panels, and there's also less state and government incentive. Where we're at in Massachusetts, we see a lot of incentives, rebate programs for people to get on solar panels. There's much less of that out here. So
the biggest differences between the homes in Massachusetts and other parts of the country is that home prices here are much higher than other places in the country, as well as property taxes can also be higher in some areas, in some cities. And this is different from other places. However, the thing that is a positive on that note is that houses out here do appreciate fairly quickly. Here where I am in the greater Boston area, you tend to see appreciation about 6 to 8% a year, at least historically. So that is a good sticking point. But again, the barrier to entry with real estate out here, unfortunately, is very high.
So as far as the real estate market goes out here in Louisiana compared to up north in New England, houses out here do tend to be much cheaper than they are in New England. This particular neighborhood where I'm in, these are brand new homes in a subdevelopment, and they start at about in the high 200s for pricing, and that's for a brand new house. You never see that in New England, and that's a big plus out here. But the other downside is you don't see as much appreciation out here on homes as you would in Massachusetts, where it can be anywhere from 5 to 8%. Out here, you're probably looking at about, I would say, closer to 2 to 3, 3 to 4, around that range. But definitely much less appreciation out here, but houses are cheaper and it's easier to get into real estate, buy a home out here than it is up north.
The last differentiating factor is insurance, because even though we have harsh winters here in this part of the country, you typically don't deal with extreme weather conditions, things like tornadoes or hurricanes or stuff like that. It does happen once in a blue moon, but it's very rare. And so as a result, insurance tends to be cheaper here than other parts of the country. As well as flood insurance isn't required as often unless you are in a designated flood zone. So that's a major difference to take note of.